Explain A-side, B-side, because you often hear fans, talk about, oh, he's the A-side, he's the B-side, or whatnot. What does it all entail?
Well, A-side and B-side, it sounds very simple to an average fan, but it is very complex in this way. So A-side and B-side, that wasn't always the case, especially back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. But as far as the climate and evolution of the game in the sport of boxing is concerned, as far as the business, the A-side and B-side came into play. So the A-side is, remember we talked about there's 4 types of fighters. Yeah. You have your prospect, you have your contender, you have your opponent, then you have your champion. So the A-side would be someone like, let's say, a contender. Someone who basically is right there on the cusp of fighting for a title, whether it be a regional title or a world title, right? And then you have your actual champion. Of course, your champion will automatically be the A-side, meaning that his money or hers money will obviously be the lion's share that he would receive or she would receive, that fighter will receive. And then the B-side will basically receive less, depending, watch this is how complex it gets, depending on whether or not the B-side is an actual opponent. I don't want to give all the secrets to the game, but this is what we're talking about. We try to educate the people. Yeah. So let's use that as an example. My fighter is the A-side. Let's say he's 8-0, 4 knockouts. And we have an opponent. He's 4 wins, 12 losses. Just because my fighter is the A-side does not necessarily mean that he's going to get paid more than the opponent. You see? But he is the B-side. That opponent will be the B-side, not just because of the lion's share of the revenue being split, but also because of the fan base. That is totally important. So if someone's a B-side fighter fighting an A-side fighter, but the B-side fighter sell more tickets, that's what this business is about. And I think I even heard, Coach Hackett talk about that. If the B-side sell more tickets, obviously he's going to get paid a percentage. He might get paid more than the A-side because this is a prospect. The manager and the promoter got to put a lot of money and invest a lot of money into building up this fighter. So the question is, how much money is the manager and promoter willing to lose to be able to build this A-side up, even though the B-side might get paid more than the A-side? So it's all about marketability and who sell tickets. That's what it basically boils down to.
For an A-level prospect, how much would you be in a hole before you reach his contender status, building him up?
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you, man. You as a manager, there are a lot of losses. That generally speaking, there are a lot of losses. And when I say losses, I mean in the sense of the expenses that a manager would incur to be able to invest in a fighter from the time, maybe let's say he comes out of the amateur boxing program and he goes pro, and that's his first fight. We're talking almost 15, 16, 17 professional fights. And then you got the landscape of boxing changing from back in the 70s to now, where the manager is, if that fight even has a manager, that's a whole different story if he doesn't, or if he doesn't. But let's just say if that fighter does have representation through management, you would have to invest a whole lot of money, because there's a lot of expenses to incur when you're investing into a fighter. The numbers can change, and it all depends on how marketable that fighter is. One of the things that I like to do, especially as a manager, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is that let's say a prospect does need extra fiduciary to be able to sustain his lifestyle, pay his bills or whatever like that. Some people do still have day jobs. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of fighters still, work a 9 to 5 while they're still competing professionally. But let's just hypothetically say you do have that situation with a prospect, even though the manager is investing a lot of money. What about getting some kind of sponsorship in between fights for these up and coming fighters? That's one of the things I'll be working on, to get the fighters that I represent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And the reason why it don't most of the time is the people that I'm asking, the businesses or organizations that I'm asking, they want to see a little bit more of marketability to make sure that they get what their dollar is worth. You know what I mean? So if this person is a really talented fighter that I'm building up, that I'm investing in, and he doesn't have maybe a huge following, I'm not talking about huge like Ryan Garcia, but a marketable enough social media presence, then an organization would say, well, I don't see how I'm justified giving this fighter $3,000 to $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever the case might be to market my product when they're not even marketing themselves properly. So, those are some of the, things that we do come through as an impasse when we're trying to, negotiate deals with fighters getting some kind of sponsorship. You know what I mean?
All right, I'm going to ask you this first question, then we're going to tail off into, obviously, Spence and Crawford.
All right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
What determines the A side? Accolades or drawing power, whether it's TV or gate?
What determines
who's the A side? Accolades, being a multi-division champion, maybe being undisputed?
Yes.
Or, pay-per-view revenue? Gate.
Very simple. Let's just make this very simple. Marketability, as we talked about earlier. If this fighter has the drawing power, who cares about the accolades? I mean, look, let's use Adrian Broner again as an example. Adrian Broner may not get the accolades like somebody like a Boots Ennis, somebody like a Bud Crawford, somebody like a Errol Spence. He might not get the accolades, but because he has the drawing power, you're going to go pay to see him, win or lose or draw, because he has the drawing power. So most of the times, because of his name, he's going to be the A side. So it's all about drawing power. That's basically all it's about that will make you the A side.